Welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer Podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and this is episode number 75, the 2023 AL East preview. Joining me tonight, as always, my great co-hosts, Jason and Joe, and then we have a guest host tonight, Jim, from Huddle Up Tuesday and Three Count Thursday, and formerly Big Jim Sports, because, my God, the guy has, too much to do with his free time, I guess.
Yeah, way too much, apparently.
And also kicking my ass in the golf course anytime we've ever played.
Well,
he does that.
I do.
Yeah, he does that.
So, guys, how are you doing tonight? It was, we were supposed to be on last week. We had a lot of birthdays. Jim, your wife Dana, Jason, your wife Karen, my birthday were all last week. So it was just easier to push things forward a week because, let's face it, none of us wanted to sleep on the couch for forgetting a birthday.
Well, I mean, and our wives actually share a birthday. They were both on the same day, so it was double whammy there. But we were very excited to be able to spend time with our wives on their special day.
Oh,
yeah,
of course.
for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's the most important thing. Joe, you're oddly quiet down the corner. How you doing, bud?
Doing just fine. I mean, it's been a rough couple of days. I mean, basketball has not been my friend.
No, dude. I feel for anybody who's a fan of the Indiana Hoosiers. Right
I'd ask if it was based off of bracket or Indiana, but I'm pretty sure your answer would just be yes.
Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. When I talk about the brackets, I run a pool at work, and when I do a bracket update, I'm like, when Purdue lost, and I'm like, yeah, it may have hurt my bracket, but I don't care because rivalries are rivalries, and I hate Purdue. So, I didn't care about that one. I just was disappointed with I told you guys on Friday, I'm like, they're playing like they don't care, and Kent State's not making shots. And last night they played like they didn't care, and Miami was making every shot they took. So,
yep, that'll do it.
I mean, to be fair, if we're talking about brackets, is anybody's bracket okay at this point? I mean, it's simply a matter for most people of like, what team are you going to have in the Elite Eight that's going to beat somebody else's?
I in a couple brackets I did have Duke, which those are clearly just garbage now. But I do have UConn in some brackets because UConn is pretty legit this year. Sanogo, I believe, is their big man in as their center. He is a beast. I never really watched UConn this year, but I watched their first couple rounds, and that dude gives me Embiid vibes with the way he plays.
And I mean, look, as in the one at work, I have UCLA. So as long as I keep that alive and I finish higher than my boss, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm in that one too, and I took a screenshot today because it showed me winning, which will probably not be the case after this next weekend.
Yeah, I think you're toasted.
That was my Duke bracket. So
yeah, you're toast. Yeah. Every bracket I filled out is just laying in shattered wreckage in the corner of the room. I'm not even looking at them anymore. This was I don't usually have a great bracket, but I can usually at least get close to half of the Sweet 16. No, not this year. Although I did get Penn State's upset over A&M right. So that was at least nice. And Penn State took the wrestling title to the surprise of absolutely no one.
Yes,
I'll say that's
in related news, water is wet. So.
Yeah, that was pretty much 11 national titles in the last 12 or 13 years.
10 in the last 12.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
Yeah, they're more dominant than Alabama is in football, which I just like to keep saying over and over again because fuck the SEC. So anyway, let's get rolling into this, guys. So Joe, we're going to start this with you. What are you drinking tonight? Because Jason's got something for the rest of us.
Okay. I'm drinking Old Forester on the rocks tonight. Nothing too crazy.
Nice choice. That's smooth.
Nice and smooth. Yeah.
Solid. So Joe, Andrew and Jim and I, we really love this Southern North Carolina soda called Cheerwine. It's a cherry soda, and they recently came out with Cheerwine Ale. And I have a friend who lives down in North Carolina. Her name is Mandy. So I reached out to her. I was like, hey, the next time you come up, can you bring some and I'll pay you for it? And she goes, well, my parents are actually down here now. So they went and they brought it back up with them that weekend. So, Mandy, Mom and Dad McCann, you are the real MVPs because this stuff is phenomenal. And I knew Jim and Andrew loved Cheerwine, so I picked up a couple beers for them. And because I know, Joe, you're not terribly big on the craft beer stuff, but this stuff, you open it up and you can smell the cherries. Mm-hmm. It smells like Cheerwine and it just tastes delicious. Beautiful color. Yeah, absolutely tastes like just an alcoholic Cheerwine.
Yeah, I cannot wait till this is available up here. I will be consuming quite a lot of this. This is absolutely delicious.
It's a good summer beer, it feels, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's light. It's light. It's nice.
Yeah, this is something I could see like pairing up with like Lancaster County Brewing Company's the strawberry wheat ale they do. This would go really well with that, throughout like a dinner course in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine doing like a beer bread with this? Getting that like cherry flavored bread with it. Oh, and the brewing company, I have not heard of this brewing company. Based off of the lines in their title, I'm guessing it's No Day. It could be Noda, but yeah,
I have no idea. I would just like to remind you, Jason, that Foos Fight's coming up. So thanks for that idea.
Yeah, we need to get our randomizer going for some alcoholic food.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's roll into this. The World Baseball Classic is going on. It's been a great tournament, a lot of great games. Couple updates. So the U.S. advanced on a go-ahead grand slam from Trey Turner to defeat Venezuela 9-7. That's what got them into the semifinal against Cuba. Man, I hope Trey Turner keeps doing this for my fantasy team for the Dollar Dogs and Beer Fantasy League this year that we're doing with Ronnie. Cannot wait. Then you have Mexico, a huge stunner when they upset Puerto Rico. They were actually down 4-0 and came back to win that one 5-4. They are facing Japan right now. Actually, that is going on. Japan has not lost. They're not going to lose, hopefully, until the final against the U.S. tomorrow night. They annihilated Italy 9-3. And then Cuba defeated Australia. That's 4-3. That's how they got to the semifinal against us. And then last night, we defeated Cuba in a massive rout, 14-2. Turner hit 2 more home runs. He became the second player in Team USA history to have a multi-homer game. He joined Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr., so that's always good company to be in there. Goldschmidt also had a home run, 4 RBIs. So we're going to play the winner of Japan and Mexico tomorrow night. Guys, my prediction for that is it's going to be Japan. It's probably not going to be close, although I'd love it to be, so Japan has to burn more of their good pitchers and not have them available for us. But I think it's going to be Japan, USA. Who do you think is going to win that? I mean, again, USA is defending champs. I feel like Japan is in the finals just about every single time the World Baseball Classic has happened. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it feels like it. Jim, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. This USA team just absolutely feels like they're just having a lot of fun and just they love hitting the ball and they're playing really good baseball. Like they just I don't know who can beat them right now. Like they just seem to be playing with this confidence, and like when you got Ken Griffey Jr. Helping Mike Trout learn how to hit better, like good God, like look, I mean that's like a cheat code upon a cheat code.
Up down, AB.
Yeah, right. Like oh my gosh, it's not even fair.
How to transform the best player in the game into Pablo freaking Sanchez.
My concern with the U.S. is their starting pitching and their pitching depth. Yes. A lot of the stars did not sign up for it. Unfortunately, I get why they didn't, but at the same time, it really is going to hurt this team, I think. Try to remember who's going tomorrow night. Merrill Kelly, I think, is who the U.S. is going to be throwing out. And if Japan wins, it's going to be Yu Darvish, I believe I saw. So I immediately went to the mindset of, well, I know Kyle Schwarber is going to get into that game, and hopefully he sends another 486-foot moonshot off of Yu Darvish. and hopefully the Philadelphia Philly Trey Turner, Captain America currently, continues to light up the pitching there. So I am so excited to watch him in a Phillies uniform. Like I was before, but seeing him in this World Baseball Classic, I am so excited right now.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I did look it up. Japan has finished no worse than third. Okay. So, yeah, they're always near the top in this thing. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I'm with Jason on this one. I think the pitching is a little bit lackluster on the U.S. side of this. So it's hard to bet against you, Darvish. So I'm thinking Japan will probably take this, whether I want them to or not.
Yeah, I really want to pull for the U.S., but the stubborn analytic inside me says it's probably going to be Japan because let's face it, pitching tends to win championships. Although it does help when you can clobber the snot out of the ball, which we've seen Japan show plenty of power as well. And with the U.S.'s a little bit lackluster pitching depth, I think it's finally going to catch up with us, unfortunately.
I do think it's going to be a slugfest, which potentially does favor the U.S. because they do have the better bats. But
that's true.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it comes down to what type of game starts getting dictated. If the U.S. can jump out and start to rattle the pitching, I think it's going to be their game. But if Japan can really start to pitch around our bats, then like it's the tale as old as time. Which strength is going to outdo the other one first, and that I think that's going to be the key in this one.
And for the love of God, please don't let Angel Hernandez behind home plate.
Yeah.
If Angel's behind home plate, the U.S. stands no chance with the 30-foot 6-inch strike zone that tends to follow him. So.
Well, I mean, the officiate has already been pretty suspect in the World Baseball Classic without having Angel Hernandez there. So spring training for everybody, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know how I don't know how they pull the umpires for the World Baseball Classic, but I'll look that up because I am kind of curious now. We have seen 2 high-profile injuries during the World Baseball Classic. First, which me and Jason noted very quickly, New York Mets all-star closer Edwin Diaz injured his knee celebrating Puerto Rico's win. He's likely out for the season. It's a patellar injury. Recovery time 6 to 8 months, but honestly, it's usually an 8-month recovery, so he will not be back. And frankly, I don't think the Mets, unless they're playing for the World Series, I don't believe that they're even going to try and push that. They just spent a crap load of money on a closer this past season. Don't screw up your future investment. So he's likely done. Then Jose Altuve, his hand was broken by a hit by pitch. It was from Daniel Barta, 95.9 mile an hour fastball. Just, got away a little too far inside. He will be out 8 to 10 weeks minimally, although now he is going to require surgery. So the timeline is TBD at this point. So guys, I've seen a lot of outcry over the World Baseball Classic. I saw Keith Olbermann in particular was particularly outspoken again. Yeah, I know, Jim, I'm with you. Particularly outspoken.
Olbermann outspoken? No.
I know, right? Right. I know. And he wants the damn thing to go away for good. We shouldn't be risking, these star players, blah, 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 blah. Joe, do you think with these 2 higher profile injuries, is this something that we need to be concerned? Should we look at either moving the World Baseball Classic to another point in the calendar year? Do we need to scrap it? Do we need to say no major leaguers altogether? What are your thoughts, man?
I don't think before the season starts is a good place for it. The rest of the guys in spring training are not playing meaningful outs right now. Where you're in a situation where there's a lot of that extra energy and a lot of that extra, game readiness that you're not quite right for because you haven't been playing meaningful outs in a while. I'm not necessarily thinking we have to get rid of it completely. I would suggest moving it, later into the fall, maybe after the World Series, somewhere south where it's not cold. And that's one way to get around it, where guys are already fresh and already loosened up. And
my concern with having it so late is you're going to have people who are coming off of the grind of a postseason, and even the full 162 games that they need that time to kind of heal and rest up. I don't mind it where it is. I think if you look at these injuries, like, yes, like the broken hand again, it happens.
Yeah.
It
that can happen anytime.
Right. And the injury to Edwin Diaz was in the 100th percentile for freak injuries. Like, you have people who injure themselves walking into the clubhouse. You have people who injure themselves with like cutting vegetables with a knife at home, you know.
I love this guy's stealing everything I was going to bring up from the group chat.
but like the main thing for me here though too is like, you have people getting injured in spring training. It's gonna happen. And they have things in place to help protect the pitchers, such as the 65 pitch, 63 pitch count. So I think it's fine where it is. I think that people, especially the people calling for it to be canceled or just not happen anymore, that's way too ridiculous. Like, you can't tell me, looking at Marlins Park, which has had more people over the World Baseball Classic enter its doors than in the entirety of Marlins Park history, like 40 some million people watching it across the world. Like, this is a good thing for baseball, and it needs to keep going on.
Yeah, baseball needs something like this because they need to do their best to. They're not at any position to catch the NFL right now, but they need to at least hold position and not lose more ground to the NFL as far as popularity goes. Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the outcries for it to be canceled or whatnot, I think are crazy. I mean, most other sports have something like this, like outside of the realm of the league. I mean, hockey has world championships that are played every year. You know, basketball has other things. Football obviously doesn't really, because it's, you know, we're kind of the kings there. But I mean, you know, I look at it this way, and yeah, I mean, you could take a pitch to the inside in spring training and break your hand. You could plant wrong at the grocery store because somebody's coming around the corner and have some freak thing where your ligament goes out, or you could be getting up from a chair and plant wrong or something like that. That I understand that the guys aren't going to be celebrating in that nature in the preseason exhibition games as they are in these World Baseball Classic games. But I mean, you can't deny that these players are out. These players are out there having a blast. Like, you can watch these guys and see how much they're enjoying playing the game of baseball. It's I mean, every year when hockey teams get eliminated from the postseason, guys are going over to play in the World Championships wherever they are, because they want to continue playing the sport they love, and they want to do it to represent their country. So to stop them from doing this because two guys freakishly got hurt in 1 week is insane. If you want to move it, I think it would make more sense, because the tournament itself is only a couple of weeks long. Yeah. I know it's not the most ideal scenario, but do an extended all-star break and just don't do the regular all-star game that year. The NHL does a similar thing, or did, not anymore, because they don't allow NHL players in the Olympics anymore. But that's what the NHL used to do. Every 4 years, you wouldn't have an all-star game. You would just have an extended break when players would go over and play in the Olympics. So if you want to do it then, I think the danger of doing it after the fact is, like you said, you get these guys coming off the postseason, but what you're also going to have is you're going to have guys that play 162 games and then are sitting around for a month and a half. And just as their bodies are starting to heal, you're going to ask them to fire it back up and play competitive baseball. I think you're going to run the risk of more problems doing it that way. So I think it's fine where it's at. Guys they're conditioned to get into baseball shape by the time this thing rolls around. Like I said, to me, if you want to move it, do it in the middle of the season and cancel the All-Star game. And quite frankly, you may find it more successful in the midst of baseball season if you do it that way. I mean, it's been an overwhelming success viewership wise, but you do it in the middle of baseball season when everybody's already thinking about baseball anyway, then I think you could even have more of a cash cow there.
And imagine having an international home run derby in the middle of it.
Awesome.
Along with those lines, like having it in the middle of the season, over the summer, baseball is the only sport going on in that June, July area. I mean, you have the Stanley Cup finals and the NBA finals in June, but the All-Star break's usually like first or second week of July.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
There's nothing else that people will be watching. I mean, you already have 45, 50 million people watching this worldwide. Imagine having it when there's nothing else on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it started this year, March 8th. It's ending March 21st, so that's 13 days, 2 weeks. I mean, I know some managers might not like shutting down most of their roster for that long, but let's be real. They would be salivating at the opportunity to rest most of their starters and give them a little extra rest for the second half.
Yeah, especially teams that are kind of either in a playoff spot, almost guaranteed, or on that playoff bubble. You give your best pitchers an opportunity to rest up and kind of reset. I think it'd be a huge opportunity for these teams.
Yeah, it's definitely something that it would make a lot of sense to do that. I'm definitely of the opinion of you guys. Don't cancel it. Please don't cancel. This has been phenomenal to watch. So, as long as the world continues to ignore Keith Olbermann when he's spouting off, all will be well.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
Probably not. All right, so let's move into the AL East preview. We will start worst to first, as we've been doing with all of these, and we will open up with the Boston Red Sox, who last year
Can we just pause for a second and bask in the fact that it's not the team that we probably all would have thought would have been in last place? I'm just saying. And the fact that not only is it not that team, it's the Boston freaking Red Sox. Thank you.
I feel like the only thing that would have made it better is if it would have been the Yankees down there.
Yes, that would have been the only thing that would have made it better. But the fact that it's the Red Sox is a close second.
We are not starting with the Orioles.
Love that.
All right, so like I said, the Boston Red Sox in fifth place last year, 78-84 record. They dropped 14 wins from 2021. I mean, this is a team that came out very early and to the playoffs 2 years ago and could not maintain that success last year. Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Glad you could hop on. Johnny cut my hair earlier, so that's why I look far more presentable than normal. And yeah, feel free to use that rather loosely. Just a warning, guys. Johnny is a Yankees fan.
I don't know if he was in fast enough to hear my shot at them, but there'll be more.
He's used to it. All right, so looking at the Red Sox depth chart, catchers, you got Reese McGuire, Connor Wong, first base, Tristan Casas, Christian Arroyo at second, Rafael Devers at third, Kike Hernandez being moved into the infield at short. Outfielders, you got Masataka Yoshida, Adam Duvall. Bye, Adam. Not going to miss your 200 strikeouts. And Alex Verdugo, DH Justin Turner after they and the Dodgers decided to swap DHs without trading them. Sorry, Boston, LA got the better of you on that one. Pitching wise, Chris Sale, if he can ever stay healthy, Nick Pivetta, Corey Kluber, Garrett Whitlock, Brian Bello, James Paxton. Closer, Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, John Schreiber, Tanner Houck, and Joely Rodriguez. They were pretty active this offseason. They did re-sign Rafael Devers to that monstrous 11-year, $331 million deal. They picked up Masataka Yoshida for an utterly insane 5-year, $90 million. I think I sounded off on this one a while ago, but 5 years, $90 million for a guy that is below average on defense, which is fine as a left fielder in Fenway Park. There's not a whole lot of ground to cover there, but he's a left-handed bat. I mean, he's got good contact, but that's a huge area to try and hit a home run on the right-hand side of that field over there. The deal is utterly insane. And as we've seen, a lot of these Japanese superstars, they're not coming over and performing like superstars in the major leagues. So 5 years, 90 is just mind-boggling. I mean, Joe, the Cubs last year signed Seiya Suzuki to less than that, I believe, or was it just a little bit more? I can't remember. Anyway.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. And Seiya was about a 2-WAR, 3-WAR player last year, and he was a superstar over there. So there's always that year of
I mean, with Seiya, though, you have to keep in mind that he was hurt a majority of the year. Mm-hmm. So that's just a short time that he was playing, that he was a 2-3-WAR player. So who knows what he would have been, had he played the whole year.
True.
Plus, I expect that to improve because he came into spring training jacked. He put on 30 pounds. So
yeah, that'll help. And then they also grabbed Corey Kluber on a 1-year, $10 million deal that can increase up to $2 million based on game starts, with a team option next year as well. They picked up Chris Martin, another former Braves reliever, 2-year, $17.5, which feels crazy for him given his age.
Impressed he could take the time off of performing with Coldplay to do this.
I was waiting for that. Yeah, I know. Kenley Jansen, 2 years, $32 million. Justin Turner went 1 year, $8.3. Player option worth $13.4 for next year with a buyout. And Alberto Mondesi, 1 year, $3 million. And Adam Duvall, 1 year, $7 million. They lost some talent. Like I said, Xander Bogaerts is gone. Nathan Eovaldi's gone. JD Martinez is gone. Rich Hill is gone. Michael Wacha and Tommy Pham. They're all gone. So, guys, I'm not seeing Boston going up anywhere in the standings this year. They lost a ton. They didn't really add anything of major value. Again, the Yoshida, we're going to have to see how that goes. Corey Kluber is a shell of what he used to be. Mm-hmm. Kenley Jansen, I loved having Jansen last year. He's not the most reliable closer anymore. He has to completely change his windup because that old thing where he came set and then jerked his hips again, that will now be called as a balk. He's also one of the slowest workers. I think he averaged 34 seconds in between pitches last year, which will not fly with the new pitch clock this year. So you have to wonder how that's going to affect him. Chris Martin's getting old. Turner is getting old. He's they should have kept JD Martinez instead of Turner, if you ask me. And I love Adam Duvall. I enjoyed his time with Atlanta. My God, he can hit for power, but he also strikes out a ton. I think he 200 strikeouts plus several seasons. So they were at what last year? 80, 70,
78, 84.
I'm going to drop them. I don't think they're going to hit 100 losses, but I think I'm going to put them at like 69, 70. I'm not seeing, especially with this as much improved as all the other teams in this division are, and what is one of the deepest divisions in baseball. So 69, 70 wins for me, and they're staying in 5th place. What do you think, Jason?
They're going to be losing more. I think, knowing that I was looking with talking about this based off of a few Red Sox fans that I know, seeing what they're posting online, things like that, and they are already just not looking forward to the season. Not enough moves.
How's it feel, suckers?
At least, Johnny, you can enjoy this segment here where we're talking about just how bad the Red Sox are going to be. But there's too many holes here. They got older.
Yeah.
And you lost your best players in Bogaerts, Eovaldi. There's too many holes here. And with the way that the rest of the division is, they're going to be in 5th place again. And I'm going to take them at, I'll give them 72 wins.
72. And Johnny, you asked about the Japanese players being burnt out before they get here. That's more the pitchers that we've seen that than the fielders. Look at Daisuke in particular. His arm was, he had a few good years for Boston, but he got hurt pretty quickly early on. And I was reading an article earlier about the I forget the guy starting tonight for Japan, but he throws like 104 and a half, 105 and a half. And, that's the thing. A lot of these guys that they have that throw so hard, they get used up very early on. And yeah, they don't tend to translate as well when they get to MLB because they've used up most of their arm already. That is a good point, but it doesn't really apply as much to the fielders as far as I've seen. All right, Joe, go ahead. What are your thoughts on the Red Sox?
Yeah, I'd agree. There's really not much better than last year. Justin Turner is a replacement for a guy who was a little better. Chris Sale can't stay healthy to save his life. So, the fact that you lost some of these other pitchers and didn't bring another starter in, a quality starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go 74 at most.
All right.
Fifth in the division.
Yeah. I think we're probably all thinking last place here. Jim, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, and what a shame too. Just absolutely pains me.
You are just so heartbroken over this. I can tell.
I lose sleep over it all the time. Yeah, no, they clearly got worse. And if you look at the additions, with the exception of Yoshida, he's kind of the one that stands out. One of these things is not like the other. The rest of their signings are mostly 1 or 2 year deals. Mm-hmm. They're trying to just patchwork to get through what's going to be a bumpy season or two here. And I think that's what we're going to see. If the only saving grace in terms of their record might be the fact that I believe this is the season where there's a less divisional matchups. Yes. So you might see them get back to 78 wins. You might see them creep into 80, but I don't think they're going to hit 500. And I agree. I think they're going to be the last place team in the East coming out. And it's crazy. Just a couple of years ago, they were World Series champions. So it's wild sometimes to see how quickly things can change in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other thing too with the Red Sox is in 2021 they were, they caught lightning in a bottle and were so damn good, and there was concern that they peaked early, and clearly that was right.
Yeah, they clearly did.
Yeah, blue pills did not continue in Boston. Let's just we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I'm not impressed. It's going to be a long season for Boston fans. And if I remember right, Boston's a permanent National League crossover team. That permanent rival crossover, I believe, is Atlanta. So I'm not upset to have extra games against Boston this year. Not even slightly.
I do think, actually, I know they come because I have tickets for one of those games. They are coming to Philly this year. So that'll be interesting to see. I particularly enjoy the score bumper because it's boop, which is much better than when Pittsburgh comes to town and you're playing with poop.
I mean, that could be a surprise to nobody, but so many good baseball players historically from Pennsylvania, and yet this is what we're left with. All right, Jim, how about your Royals, man?
Yeah, I mean, last year can be found nothing short of a surprise. 83-79, finished fourth. 31 wins to the good from the previous season. Finished above 500 for the first time in a few years. We'll leave it at that. Coming in with a depth chart, you got Rutschman, McCann, Mountcastle, Frazier, Henderson, and Mateo in the infield. Hayes, Mullins, and Santander in the outfield. Stowers as your DH. Means, Gibson, Irvin, Creamer, and Bradish as your starting rotation. Bautista again as your closer. Perez, Tate, Givens, Baker, and Hall rounding out the rest of the bullpen. Not really anything in the way of re-signed players. When one of the beauties, I suppose, of being kind of like the youngest and most inexperienced teams in baseball is you kind of have a lot of guys on these early career deals and some other deals that you had kind of solidified in previous seasons. So nothing in the way there. You add Kyle Gibson on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Irvin, Frazier, McCann.
Have fun with Kyle Gibson, buddy.
Well, you can't always win them all, Jason. And honestly, probably, at least in terms of what the Orioles rotation has been in previous seasons, it's probably an upgrade. Because like that's been one of the biggest issues for the Orioles for years has been the starting rotation. They've seemed to always have a solid bullpen. I mean, you get solid when you start going into it in the third inning, but so the bullpen's been solid for years, and you know, starting pitching, as a lot of teams in the league know, can be a big problem.
Oh, Matt.
Yeah, from Matt Mall, Gibson may be the opening day starter. That John Means might not be ready by opening day.
Yeah. I mean that's certainly less than ideal, but for Means, you want to make sure that he gets as healthy as can be for what will be the long season. Let's see. Also have McCann was added in the offseason, Givens as well. The only losses, Jordan Lyles and Odor out the door. But yeah, I mean, it's a very similar team that we're going to see. And, you know, I know when I believe when I joined here last year, when we were talking about the AL East and the thing that I really just wanted to see out of the Orioles was some improvement. I thought they had a really good core. They've had one of the best, if not the best, prospect pools for the last few seasons. And like I still remember when they hired their manager, I was talking to my insurance agent, who's a huge Cubs fan, Mark Hove, right down here in downtown Lidditz, and I said, you know, what's the scoop on this guy? Because he had previously been a scout and everything in the Cubs organization. He's like, the guy knows baseball. So if they actually give him the time to cook, you know, not saying that the Orioles are going to be a World Series contender or anything like that, but the team's going to get better if they let it. And they have. For the first time in a long time, to the Orioles management's credit, they've actually kind of let the organization build within itself, and it's finally starting to pay off a little bit. So kind of in the same light as I was last year. I want to see more growth. Okay, so you're 83-79, 4 games above 500. That's great. Can we get in the conversation for a wild card spot? Like, I'm not saying you have to get one. You know, it's and I think one of the biggest things with sports fans, and obviously I'm taking this one as mostly to heart, is there's some teams that you expect to be great. There's some teams that you expect to be deep into a postseason run, and if that doesn't happen, then it's considered a failure. You know, like the Orioles had a fantastic like August and early September last year, kind of gave us hope that they were gonna keep it going, get into that wild card spot, and it kind of fell apart. Can't say I was surprised. There was no disappointment in me at the end of the season because this team outkicked its coverage. So, but now it's like, okay, build on what you did and get towards a playoff spot. You know, you don't have to get one. You don't have to win a playoff series. You don't have to contend for the American League this year. Just improve. It shows signs that this is working and it will continue to work. And I honestly, I don't see any reason why it can't. Like this team loved playing. It was great to see Baltimore fans get back and enjoying their team at the ballpark again. Because that was never the thing. The thing was never that Baltimore didn't love the Orioles anymore. It was that the Orioles didn't love the Orioles anymore. And the management didn't love the Orioles and their fans anymore. So, you know, hopefully just everything they built on last year, I hope they can continue. I hope they can add some more wins, you know, get into that 90-95 win pocket. Maybe you catch another hot month. That's kind of my hope. Add, you know, getting outside of the East again. I think that's going to be a huge thing too, is when you're not playing every freaking week against one of the 3 best teams in damn baseball. I think could help this team as well. And the Orioles have done well against even some of the harder competition outside of the division. So adding about 5 to 7 more wins, again, maybe, you know, up to 10 or 11 more, I don't think is out of the question for a team that is clearly growing.
Well, and Jim, you actually got to enjoy Orioles baseball after and like legitimate, like, but like after the All-Star break, you got to enjoy like games that mattered. You got to enjoy relevant baseball from the Orioles post All-Star break.
I mean, there was a point, I want to say it was in like early August, where they were a game out of first in the division. I mean, it was, and not that I thought this is going to hold, but like there was no reason to believe that it couldn't. Like, and or that even if you slip a little bit, you can catch, one of those wild card spots. Obviously, it didn't pan out, but I mean, the fact that, I've always joked, that it's, I'm an Orioles fan until they're eliminated from the postseason. So I'm a Phillies fan on opening day. Like that didn't get to be a thing for me until, really right down, I think to about the third to last series. The regular season, until the Orioles they were the last American League team eliminated from the postseason last year.
Yeah, it was a heck of a season, man.
Matt, if you're still listening and watching, Matt is also an Orioles fan. He works with Jim and I. So Matt, I'll be curious to know your thoughts on the team leading up into this season, and if you want to throw a prediction as to what they do this season. Win total and whatnot, feel free to let us know. Jim, I am with you. They are going to get to 88 wins. I'm going to say 88 wins. And Jim, you are going to watch Orioles playoff baseball this year. I think the Orioles will get the third wild card spot. And the reason I say that, not only are they returning their veteran core, they're returning their young core with the guy who would have been Rookie of the Year if not for the insane season that Julio Rodriguez had in Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
But the system, you're going to have a guy coming up soon at some point this year, Grayson Rodriguez, and he is going to be a stud pitcher. This Orioles team is going to be really good, I think, this year. They can really surprise people. Like they surprised people last year, being the first team to go from 100 losses to above 500 ball. But
I mean, you look at their record over the past few years. 54 and 108. They were 25 and 35 in the pandemic shortened season. 52 and 110. In 2021, and then last year 83 and 79. I mean, it's an insane turnaround. So all the credit to Brandon Hyde as well. Like that's incredible baseball managing right there.
Yeah, 2016 was your last year above 500, so you were due.
Yeah, so 88 wins, third wild card spot, and if they get hot at the right time and they're playing good ball at the end of the season, look out.
Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
I'm going 92 wins.
Ooh,
wow.
I like it.
To quote your good friend EJ, who has 100 teams, I'm feeling frisky about the Orioles.
Well, I'll take it on that one.
I mean, I saw them play at least once last year. That, like you said, Rutschman is awesome. Gunnar Henderson coming up this year will probably be the Rookie of the Year in the American League, as good as he could be. So there's a lot to like here. They did all that without John Means last year.
Yeah, that's a big thing to remember.
And Matt even touched on that here. Matt, you mentioned their bullpen. I mean, their closer is one of the best closers in the game. So I'm very thankful to have picked him up in the money fantasy draft fantasy league that I'm in with Matt. So got Felix Bautista there as one of my closers. So I'm feeling pretty good about that pick.
Yeah, Matt just said in his prediction he thinks 90 wins is feasible. I like Cole Irvin, and I have hope that John Means can join the rotation at some point. Gray Rod is a legit ace potential. Kyle Gibson is the GOAT. I don't know about that one. Pair that with a lights out bullpen and a potent offense. I think we could sneak into a wild card spot. Guys, I'm going to agree with you. I'm a little disappointed that they didn't grab at least maybe one or two more veteran guys, clubhouse leadership, that kind of thing, even just as a bridge to more of the younger guys. The thing that really disappointed me about the Orioles last year was that they traded Mancini at the deadline. I was really hoping they were going to try and make a push to get him back. Cubs gave him good money. You can't blame.
Yeah, I honestly thought his was going to be one of those things where they were like, "Look, you never know with a guy like him in the situation with his health and everything that you're never guaranteed another season." So I kind of felt like that. At that point, it was all right. Let's move him. Maybe he'll get a shot at a World Series, and if we can work a deal out in the offseason, we can get him back. Obviously, it wasn't meant to be, but Mancini was such a tremendous ambassador for baseball and for Baltimore. He loved the city.
You're kind of feeling like it's like a Bruins Ray Bork kind of situation when they sent him to the Avalanche.
Yeah, that sort of a deal.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, he was able to get his ring. He and Dusty Baker are the only reasons I was even remotely happy. I was happy for those two people. That was it.
I feel like you're pulling teeth to pull that one out there, Jason.
Yeah.
Another comment here from Matt. What made it worse was Mike Elias hinted that we'd be active in the offseason. We go out and get Adam Frazier and Nomar Mazara. Yeah, like I said, Matt, that's the one thing. I really wish the Orioles would have been a little bit more active. I understand you don't want to block the young guys coming up, but you can do these 1 to 2 year deals like Boston did. This is a case where you want to do 1 to 2 year deals so you don't have veterans locking up these young guys. If the young guys outplay the veterans, let them come up. That's how it is. Earn your spot.
Yeah. Before you give your prediction, Andrew, I mean, I'm looking at the standings from last year. I mean, the Orioles would have been in even with playing within their division more. The Orioles would have been just records alone, second place in the Central, third place in the West. And if you get into those divisions where you're playing, if you get into the Central, you're playing 3 teams that are sub 500, or out in the West, same situation. Who knows what they could have done. So that's again why I'm hoping that I'm never going to bank on it, because you can no thing is ever a sure thing, but you got to think if you start to play more competition outside of the best, that you're gonna see some improvement. It may even be harder to crack, above you, because those teams are also going to be doing that. But maybe you can, you need 7 wins to outlast what Seattle was. Last year, and that's kind of the hope for that last wild card spot.
And you're going to get to play the Nationals. You're going to get to play the Reds. The Pirates I think are going to be better this year, but you're still going to get to play those really, really bad NL teams finally.
How about the Rockies and their owner who thinks they somehow have 90 to 95 wins in them? Because clearly their owner is smoking some of the in-state.
I say it is legal out there, so can't fault them for it.
Yeah, Jim, you might have missed that. I actually found that quote when we were doing the NL West show. He actually went public in an interview and said, "I believe this team is capable of winning 90 to 95 games."
Ooh, bold strategy, Cut. Let's see if it plays out for him.
Right. So my prediction, guys, I'm gonna go right in between Jason and Joe here. I'm gonna say 90 wins. I do think that they will be able to slip into that third wild card spot. Not guaranteed, but I definitely see the potential there. I'd love to see it, honestly. It'd be nice to see Baltimore relevant in the postseason again. I would just totally enjoy that, because let's face it, Camden Yards in the fall with a crowd that's just electric. That's a beautiful place to watch some baseball.
Oh man, the last time they made the postseason, I mean, that place was sold out and rocking. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing for Baltimore here is the one thing that I was a little upset about this offseason. It has nothing even to do with the players on the team, but they removed the Baltimore Sun clock from their scoreboard.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think looking at their record here, I know we said we're predicting a third wild card spot. To also clarify where they wind up in the division, I think they'll jump up a spot. I think they'll end up being third in their division this year.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with it.
Yep, I agree with that, actually. All right, so let's move on to last year's third place team, the Rays. Joe, take it away, man.
Yeah, last year, 86-76, good for third in the AL East in the third wild card spot. Swept by Cleveland in that wild card round, 2-0. Their win total dropped 14 from 2021 to last year. Catcher, Christian Betancourt, first base, Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lowe at second, Wander Franco at short, Randy Arozarena, Siri, and Margot in the outfield, Harold Ramirez at DH, McClanahan, Rasmussen, Springs, Eflin, and Yanni Chirinos in their starting rotation. Their closer, Pete Fairbanks, Jason Adams, Jalen Beeks, Ryan Thompson, and Colin Post in the bullpen. Their big re-sign was Yandy Diaz, 3 years, $24 million. Jeffrey Springs was 4 years, $30 million. Fairbanks, 3 years, $11 million. The other acquisition in the offseason, Zach Eflin, that massive 3-year deal for $40 million. Hopefully they get something out of that, but I don't see that happening. Their biggest losses here, Kevin Kiermaier in the outfield, Corey Kluber as a pitcher, G-Man Choi at first, Mike Zunino at catcher, Yarbrough, another left-handed pitcher. So I feel like they got worse, in my opinion, as a ball club. So I see them dropping into that fourth spot in the division, just ahead of the Red Sox. Probably, I'm going to go 80 wins.
80 wins. Okay.
I just don't think they got any better, and I think the Orioles are much better than they are. I think the Blue Jays are better than they are. And McClanahan, if he can stay healthy, is only good for, a couple of starts. He's not going to change anything in that win total.
Yeah, he pitches once every 5 games. He's not, as bad as the rest of this rotation is, he's not the kind of guy you want to run him every 4 days, 3 days throughout the season, just try and steal wins. Yeah, that Zach Eflin deal, man. Wow. Honestly, Kyle Gibson 1 year, $10 million. That's really not a bad deal, especially when you look at this freaking.
It's all about perspective. It's
Zach
all
Eflin,
about
3 years, $40 million. I understand he pitched really, really well in the postseason last year. I get that. He didn't pitch 3 years, $40 million well.
But the thing is, he pitched well in the postseason as a relief pitcher.
Yeah, that's true.
He did not start for them because, and it looks like that he's going to be a starter for the Rays. But you get him through the lineup one time, great. There's a couple innings for you, but he's not going to stay dominant a second time through that lineup. Ronnie and I saw that firsthand last year. So
Ronnie said bye-bye Eflin in the comments here.
If they brought him back as a relief pitcher, I would have been okay with it. But for him to sign as a starter, nah, I'm good.
3 years, 40. That's just nuts.
Yeah, especially with the deals that the Phils ended up making in the offseason, I'm quite all right saying goodbye to Zach Eflin.
And that was if I remember right, that was one of the early pitching deals that was signed in the offseason.
He was the first one, I think.
Yeah. So it really, Eflin really screwed up the pitching market for everybody else who was trying to find a bargain starter. Wow. I am blown away by by that deal. So, Jason, what are you thinking?
Too many gaps here. I think they got worse. 79 wins and fourth in the division. They're going to be behind Baltimore.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I think it's not even that Tampa got worse. I think it is just that Baltimore got better. So I think they probably and I feel almost scared saying this, but I see them slipping down to that 4th spot. I think the Orioles move up a little bit, and I think they're going to be more probably closer to the 80 to 82 win mark for Tampa.
I do think the win total is going to drop. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. I don't think it's going to drop too far. I'm thinking 83 to 84 wins. And the reason I think that is because we keep going back to the new schedule where they're not going to have to play as many games in the division as they were previously, and they'll be able to have the opportunity to beat up on some of the weaker teams in the NL. I still think, though, they're going to drop to fourth place. Like I said, I'm thinking 83, 84. I mean, they were really your only pickup is Zach Eflin. Really? Not really a recipe for
strategy cut.
Yeah.
There were so many options out there, and Zach Eflin's the guy you decided to dump your massive amount of wealth into. And this brings back the same point I've brought up a few times. We need a spending floor, not a spending cap, because maybe crap like this wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been my point with baseball for years. Everybody talks about just a salary cap, and it has to go both ways because there are organizations that like to be like poverty organizations, basically. That don't want to spend any of their money. I mean, for years, I've screamed into the void about Baltimore being one of those teams that has the ability to bring in, comparable players and just, we're good. We're comfortable being, everybody's can to kick down the road. So yeah, it's got to go both ways for it to work.
Yep, agreed.
The other thing too is, I mean, if you're given a choice between playing at Camden Yards and Tropicana Field,
yeah, that's not even a question.
No.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was listening to the Preston and Steve show. We're down at Philly on Friday at the stadium in Clearwater, and they had a couple of Phillies players on. One of the guys that I guess had been in the Tampa organization, they were asking him about like some of like the weird rules with the Trop, like some of the catwalks, like if you hit him, it's a foul ball, some are in play, and he goes, hell if I know. like you're playing in such a crap hole that nobody even knows the rules of playing in said crap hole. Like it's just awful.
I visited that crap hole. We went to a Rays game on our honeymoon. They played the Yankees, so the stadium was like 5,000 fans instead of 2,000. And
35.5 in Miami.
And it was neat to see the catwalks that they talk about, but it is an absolute dump. The touch tank for the Rays is kind of cool because you get to pet a Ray, but you're also limited to like 5 minutes.
You can do that in the Baltimore Aquarium.
Right.
And then catch a game in a real ballpark.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, we did get seats like 10 rows off of the field behind the Rays dugout for like $20.
I was going to say, did they pay you for him? Like, I mean...
and although we couldn't really see him, John Cena was sitting right behind us. So,
how would you know?
Just heard the voice.
Just saw like a floating hat and jean shorts. Like,
I mean, they put him up on the jumbo board, and I'm like, there's nobody there.
It's on empty suite.
Honest to God, and
absolute dump.
Here's the thing: there is only one stadium that is worse in MLB that I can think of, and that's Oakland. Considering the sewage lines regularly back up into both clubhouses, I think that's the only one that is worse than Trop.
Yeah, at least the players aren't going, what's that smell? Oh, that's our own shit.
That's not our plane. That's the crap.
That's literally the sewage that's seeping up into the dugout.
Matches the quality of the baseball in that stadium. So
yeah, right. So I mean, Tampa Bay. I know they're working on a new stadium. Good God, they need to crank that out at record pace. This is the time where if this is a mobile game, you are giving up your credit card to get as many gems to rapidly, instantly build a new stadium as quickly as possible.
But they've been working on that new stadium since they started playing at the Trop.
I know, which is almost as long as Oakland's been trying to get a new stadium out west too.
I think Oakland's just going to be moving, period. But
yeah, It seems more and more likely.
Send them to Montreal, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, right. Yeah, except then they've got to realign teams. Let's try and avoid that if possible, because I don't even want to consider who the hell they'd have to move around to make that work.
That'd be tough.
All right, Jason, how about the Blue Jays?
So the Toronto Blue Jays last year went 92-70. They got second in the American League East. They had the first wild card spot, and they got swept by our buddy Dave Gerhardt's Mariners in the American League wild card, 2-0. They did get one whole win better last year from 2021.
Hey, at least it's improvement.
Their depth chart here, you have Jansen and Alejandro Kirk as your catchers, Vlad Jr. at first, Espinal at second, Chapman at third, Bo Bichette at short, and you also have Whit Merrifield there as your utility guy. The outfield, they have Dalton Varsho, who in fantasy has catcher eligibility. Thank you very much.
Freaking.
I will absolutely love having him as my catcher, even though he'll be playing in the outfield. And then you also have Kevin Kiermaier and George Springer. Your DH is Brandon Belt. Their rotation is still pretty solid in Alek Manoah, Kevin Gossman, Jose Berrios, Chris Bassett, and Yusei Kikuchi. And then in their pen, they have Jordan Romano closing, Tim Mesa, Anthony Bass, Chad Green, Yimi Garcia, Adam Kimber, and then Simber. And then their re-signed players, they didn't make any have any re-signings, but they did acquire Chris Bassett, Dalton Varsho, Eric Swanson, Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Belt, and Zach Thompson in the offseason. They did lose a few key pieces from last year in Teoscar Hernandez, Gabriel Moreno, Ross Stripling, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Raimel Tapia, and David Phelps. So they're still going to be a great team. I think there's not too much that they could really change. Maybe a couple different pieces in their bullpen. Their starting rotation solid. Their lineup is going to hit. So I think, you know what? I'm Joe. I'm feeling frisky. I'm going to go with first place. They are going to be your AL East winners, and they are going to have 98 wins.
Wow. Well, okay then. Joe, are you feeling as frisky?
Make it happen, boys.
There's a lot to like here. I think, having Brandon Belt, who can spell Vlad Jr. at first, and Vlad Jr. can DH. That obviously improves your team quite a bit. I think they improved a lot overall. Some pieces were replacements, but the replacements I think are slightly better.
It's tough. It's tough.
Maybe one or two extra wins, maybe 94.
Okay.
I'm not feeling quite as frisky.
All right, 94 wins. Do you putting them second?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right.
Let's talk Yankees first.
That's fair. All right. So you're saying 94 and placement TBD. All right, Jim, what are you thinking?
All right, and look, I'm just saying, you move the A's to Montreal, okay? Okay, the Rockies go from the NL to the AL West, and then you move the Royals from the Central to the AL West, and then you have the Montreal whatevers in the AL Central. That's all I'm saying. It's a relatively easy shift.
It's not, dude. Montreal's farther east than Toronto is. So are you going to move the Blue Jays to the Central?
Don't overcomplicate it, okay? The Dallas Cowboys are still in the NFC East, okay? Don't overcomplicate things. Anyway, Man, no, this team looks real good. And I wonder if they're better than the team that caused the traffic gridlock in the downtown Toronto the year that I decided to go on vacation there. True story. I thought, yeah, October, perfect time to go to Toronto. Not going to have to worry about baseball traffic. Oops. Okay.
Are you sure it wasn't the Alouettes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But man, yeah, I like this team a lot. And you know what? I feel like I don't know if it's more that I like this team enough or if I like the idea of the Yankees falling out of first place. So I'm gonna join Jason, and maybe it's the Cheerwine Ale talk.
Yeah, buddy.
But I'm gonna go 100 wins.
Wow.
In first
Going
place,
big. 100 wins in first place. Wow. Okay, so
it's not often that Jim agrees with me either, so this is saying something.
Yeah, it's not even football season. That's when it usually does happen.
At least with the NFL.
Yeah.
I was about to say it's never going to happen in college.
Nope.
And that's A-okay. We'll keep the 2 Penn State fans up on top where they belong and the 2 Notre Dame fans down below. Might have set the screens up deliberately for that. All right. So, yeah, guys, this is a very, very, very good team. No doubt about that. I'm not going to be quite as rosy as Jason and Jim. I'm going to say 97.
It's all right. You're allowed to be wrong.
We're right. 97 wins, but even with 97 wins, I'm going to put them second place in the East. I don't think they have enough to pass the Yankees yet, and I will tell you why when we roll into them. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about Toronto before I roll into the Yankees?
No.
Are you just trying to keep your mom happy?
My mom and my barber, man.
Oh yeah. It's good.
No offense to your mom, but barber might be more important in that conversation.
I was gonna say it's a good thing you got your haircut today. Otherwise, if you were to take the Yankees second, go see Johnny tomorrow.
You end up looking like me.
Sorry, is that your ear on the floor over there?
Yeah, about that. Anyway, so the Yankees last year, 99-63, first in the AL East, despite the fact that Aaron Judge basically had to single-handedly carry that team for the entirety of the second half. They were swept by the Astros in the ALCS. The depth chart now, you've got Jose Trevino at catcher, Anthony Rizzo re-signed, Gleyber Torres at second, Josh Donaldson at third, which I know Yankees fans were praying to every god they knew to get Josh Donaldson shipped out of town. Sorry, guys, it didn't happen. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at short. They still have DJ LeMahieu to be the all-around infield utility guy to spell guys. Outfield, and I like this. Aaron Hicks, Aaron Bader, Aaron Judge, and then also Osvaldo Cabrera as well. And then that, thankfully, because this is by far the best move for the guy, Giancarlo Stanton will be the full-time DH, which is where he should be. Not a great defensive outfielder anymore, and he's way too injury prone. Here's what I like so much about the Yankees right now, guys. They've got the pitching, man. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Nasty Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino, who now that he's a couple years off of his injuries, he should finally start to have some semblance of effectiveness again that he had a few years ago before he started getting hurt. Also, Frankie Montas. They've got Clay Holmes, who filled in quite well when Aroldis Chapman decided to get a tattoo, get it infected, and just pitch like utter garbage last year. They also have Jonathan Losega, Wandy Peralta, Lou Trevino, Ron Marinchino, Michael King. The biggest, most important move they made was re-signing Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $360 million deal. I love a guy that says, hey, you're offering me not enough. I'm going to make a bet that I will be able to outplay what you want to offer me. And boy, did he do that with a flourish last year and got like $134 million more than what was initially offered. Just absolutely ridiculous. I love to see players take the chance and then it pay off like that. That's just awesome. They re-signed Rizzo 2 years, $34 million, club option for 25 for $17 million. They picked up Carlos Rodon, Tommy Canley. They lost Jameson Talion. No big deal there, I don't think. Matt Carpenter again. Stanton's a much better DH. Benintendi kind of hurts, but really for what he got, he's not worth the money he got, I don't think. And of course, Aroldis Chapman, as we were chortling about a few weeks ago when we did the AL Central preview, you got picked up by the Royals, man. You've hit rock bottom when you go from being the Yankees closer to being the prove-it closer of the Kansas City Royals, a team that will not give you very many save opportunities to blow. So, all that said, guys, I like this team better than last year, actually. I think they're a little bit deeper. They got rid of Joey Gallo, I still don't understand the deal they made to get Gallo 2 years ago to start with. I think the Yankees are going to improve very slightly. I think 100 and 101 wins are not out of possibility. That pitching is so good. I'm going to say 100, 101 wins, and they're going to take first place again. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I already have Toronto going big balls. The Yankees, I guess, theoretically could go 99 and 63 again. And to me, being second, I think, maybe they're going to be in that conversation. Like, it's going to come down. I really do. It's going to come down to them and Toronto for this division. So I think, anything in the 90s, but probably mid even to high 90s is going to be your mark. I think it's going to come down to the last couple series of the season for both of these teams, because as much as I got to choke down the vomit to say it, like this Yankees team is really good, really, really good. And they've done as best as they can do, I mean, to improve or at least stay on the mark of a team that wins 99 games a year ago is no simple task, and they've done it. So I mean, I have them in second. Not much else really to say about it. It's just it's one of those times I hope I'm very, very wrong and they just implode.
Yeah, short of a lot of injuries, I don't see an implosion happening to the Yankees this year. That's just a stacked roster, honestly. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Part of me is expecting an Aaron Judge hangover year. He just did way, way, way too much for them last year. To be able to repeat that just seems far-fetched. It seems crazy to me. If Harrison Bader is healthy, he's one of the best outfielders in the game as far as coverage area goes. Mm-hmm. If he can stay healthy. But that Josh Donaldson is the big question mark at third base. Whether he can get his back going again and be good enough at third to make a difference for them. I said 94 for Toronto, right?
Let me double check. That sounds right, though. Yes, 94 for Toronto.
You know what? 94 for the Yankees is going to come down to a tiebreaker for this division.
I like it.
Nice.
Who do you think's going to win the tiebreaker?
I mean, that's a valid question. You got to have your champ.
Do it.
You know what? I don't know.
Let's just say the Blue Jays, then we'll move on.
Just pick something crazy. It's what Alex did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Let's go with the Blue Jays. What the heck?
All right.
Yeah. Love it.
That's what I'm saying.
Jason, what do you think?
Well, I guess it's a good thing that I do not see Johnny, because I think the Yankees are going to have a little bit of a drop this year. Not much. They're still a fantastic team. But I agree with Joe. I think Aaron Judge gave them a lot of wins last year that I think that they're due to have that drop off this year. I doubt he repeats that 62, 60, whatever crazy home run total he had last year, giving them those wins. Donaldson's a liability over at third.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do have some health concerns with some of the other players. I mean, even Aaron Judge, you might have some health concerns there a little bit. The good thing that for the Yankees is they do have a really good farm system. I think you will see a couple players potentially here this year. A player who has been one of the top prospects for a while, if not their top prospect, in Jason Dominguez, the Martian, they call him. You might see him at some point this year. He's having a heck of a spring.
He's number 2. Volpe is number 1.
I was going to say, and you're also going to have Anthony Volpe potentially coming up this year. So they're going to be great. I had 98 or 99 wins for the Blue Jays.
You had 98.
99 because I went one better.
Okay.
Yeah. So 99 wins for the Blue Jays. I think the Yankees are going to be in the 96, 97 range and be second in the division, but they'll still snag. I think they'll get wild card number 1. I think they'll be number 1. I think you'll see Astros or Mariners, whoever I picked back then. I think I probably took the Mariners as the division champs. So Astros wild card number 2, Baltimore Orioles wild card 3.
Yeah, you picked Mariners. I'm pretty sure. I don't have the sheet open, but I'm 99%.
I've been picking them the last couple of years. They're bound to win at some point.
Well,
or maybe I'm just jinxing Dave's team.
That's a very, very, very valid, understandable thing to do. It's always fun to jinx your friends' teams. Yeah, it's like I said, it comes down to the pitching for me, and I think the Yankees have better pitching than everybody else does. That's why I'm going to keep them a little bit ahead.
I think the thing for me is I think Nestor Cortez, you're going to see a little bit of a drop off from him. Mm-hmm. And even I think Garrett Cole, I've picked Garrett Cole to win the Cy Young for like each of the last couple of years, and he hasn't done it.
You've picked Garrett Cole to win the Cy Young every single year this podcast has existed, at least initially in the
So 3 years. It's not like we've been around for 10 years.
Do it again this year just because you have to.
I'm not going to because, well, maybe I should, and then he'll drop off again.
It's all been part of the plan.
Now, hold on a second. I drafted Garrett Cole, didn't I? That's why you're doing this.
All right, Garrett Cole, Cy Young, confirmed.
I think Toronto's got the better bullpen. There's less concern there. And Rodon is already hurt, I think.
He's expected. I think he's expected to be ready to go on opening day, though, or shortly thereafter. I don't think it's going to be a lingering thing with Rodon.
Well, and you're going to have to make Garrett Cole the starter on opening day because if he starts late, he's going to bitch. So,
I mean, he did that in Houston too. Let's be realistic here. All right, guys. So that's the AL East preview. It's going to be that's a deep race, man. That is a deep division. I don't think it's going to be quite the bloodbath of next week's. In our final division, the NL East, I think that's going to be a bigger bloodbath between the top 3. But let's be real, the bottom team in the NL East is significantly worse than the bottom team in the AL East, as much as we all hate to admit it. Just wanted to give a live update quick on the World Baseball Classic. In the bottom of the 7th, and I am shocked that I am saying this, Mexico is up 3-0 on Japan in the bottom of the 7th.
Dang.
Wow.
I would not be upset to see the U.S. try to get some redemption against Mexico.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind it either. I think that'd be a neat matchup too. Two teams that haven't met in the finals before, so that would, I don't believe Mexico's even ever made the finals, so that would be awesome to see them get to that stage finally. So yeah, guys. I don't know about you. I plan on watching the finals tomorrow night, and because it's going to be a really good, whether it's Japan or Mexico that wins this game, it's going to be a great game. So, yeah, wow, what a great classic we've had so far. All right, guys. So, Jim, you want to throw up your Twitter and everything?
Yeah, you can follow me at Big Jim Sports. You can see it on the screen there for those who are catching on the video side. But yeah, plenty of podcast projects. Huddle Up Podcast. We don't do the live show. We're in the off-season mode now. Actually, next week we're going to record our first set of off-season content, but also we have a bunch of singular focus shows on the feed. So I do weekly observations just from the broad world of sports. We have EJ's NBA podcast, Mike's NHL podcast. Matt covers soccer and baseball together on the pitch. So there's plenty of content still on the Huddle Up Podcast feed. So you can get that at Huddle Up Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. And then if you are a wrestling fan at 3 Count Thursday across all social media platforms, we have our weekly live show. We also have a Tuesday podcast that drops that it's not just, I mean, the Tuesday podcast is pretty much anything. The next couple weeks are going to be a little more wrestling focused as we're in WrestleMania season, but we also starting tomorrow kick off our ultimate fast food tournament. The 4 regions are the entrees region, the breakfast region, the sides region, and the dessert region. So we run through the first round on tomorrow's episode, so you want to check that out.
Jim, can you give us a little preview of what we can look forward to with that tournament? Like a couple of the matchups you have?
Yeah, let me pull up here. Let me pull up.
I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know. Like, do you have them ranked by? Do you have them seeded?
Yeah. So what I did is I didn't tell the guys what I was doing, and I told them to send me for each region their 5 favorite like fast food dinners, breakfasts, whatever, and anything that got multiple votes. Those are the higher seeds, and everything else was just at random. So let's see one of the big ones from the entree region. Let's see here. We had I think this one was one of the more interesting ones. The number 3 seed Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich taking on the 14 seed Taco Bell Supreme Crunch Taco. It turned out to be pretty solid. Let's see, from the sides region, we had the number 5 seed Chick-fil-A waffle fries taking on the number 12 seed Long John's Hush Puppies.
Oh man,
that was an interesting matchup. Let's see, from the desserts region, we had the number 7 seed Chick-fil-A peach milkshake versus the number 10 seed McDonald's hot apple pie. And in the breakfast region, let's see, what was one of the really good ones there? We had the number 2 seed sausage egg McMuffin taking on the 15 seed Wendy's sausage egg and cheese biscuit. So yeah, like I said, you can actually head over to 3 Count Thursday on all social medias now and see a preview of the bracket. Yeah, Ronald, it was hard to make this to put this tournament together without getting hungry.
Yeah, for those that are just listening, Ron said, "Okay, I'm fat. This food talk is making me hungry."
Yeah, if you
now, Jim, are you going to be trying some of these to make your picks? Like, if you haven't tried them, or have you tried everything on here?
Maybe only 1 or 2 things on the entire bracket that I haven't tried. They don't call me Big Jim for nothing. But if you head over to 3 Count Thursday on Facebook and Twitter, you can see a preview of the full bracket.
Oh man,
as we kick it off.
You said the what was the dessert one? The peach milkshake versus the hot apple pie from McDonald's. I think I would probably end up leaning that peach milkshake, and the reason that apple pie either came out ice cold or boiling lava hot.
Oh yeah, that thing will ruin your mouth for a week for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to be checking this out to see what you do.
But yeah, it's been a blast. So we'll record round 2 on this upcoming Thursday.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see how this goes. March is the time for brackets, of course, with March Madness, and exactly. Jim, that might be the best bracket I've heard in a while. Especially,
we end up talking about food so much on the Tuesday show, so I was like, you know what, might as well lean into it. 3 of the 5 of us are fatties, so might as well do it.
That's a good one. All right, guys. So you can see us everywhere, all the major platforms: Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. You can see us live on our YouTube channel, Facebook Live, as well as Twitter. Merchandise is at redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. On the Twitter page at DDAB_podcast. All three of us are on Twitter. I'm at PyroLord314. Jason's at JRicker300. Joe's at JoltonJoe35. We are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC. We are sponsored by Whiskey and Blade Barbershop. Johnny, I told you I'd pick your Yankees as much as it pains me to do so. Guys, may your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good one. We'll see you next week for the NL East preview.